morning time, morning basket. I'm sure you have heard of all of those things, but have you ever heard of an evening basket? I'm about to tell you about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. I am going to share about something that I am so excited about. It has been working so well for our homeschool, for my season of life that I'm in where I need to minimize things. I talked to you guys in my video on meal planning. For the past year, I have just really been trying to simplify our life and just doing better about cutting things out of our life that are not working or are not serving the purpose that they should be serving, if that makes sense. So I'm going to tell you kind of a little bit more about what I mean. But when I first started homeschooling, which was like 3 years ago, I was watching all of the videos, following every Instagram account that I could, just getting all of the information, and everywhere I saw, people were doing morning time or morning basket or morning cart, and I thought, okay, that is what I have to do. So that's what I did, and everybody's doing it, so you got to do it, right? Wrong. That is not how homeschool should be, okay? Homeschool is about doing what works for you and for your family, not what works for everybody else, okay? And this has taken me a while to realize, but I'm getting there, and I'm realizing that what works for another family may not work for us, or at least it may not work for us in this season of life. That other family that I'm watching, they may not have an infant like I do. They may not have a husband who works nights. So I have to figure out what is right for us and then implement it that way. And it changes season to season, and it even changes like year to year as we homeschool. Sometimes it changes week to week. If we're just not vibing with something and I'm like, nope, let's cut it, let's do something else. Last year we had several read alouds that we just were not enjoying. They were very hard to follow, and we just X'd them out. And I started realizing I am not like someone who loves to read aloud to their kid, or at least that's what I thought. But what I didn't love is the fact that we had to try to fit it all in during our morning time. That was what was stressing me out. It wasn't the actual thing that we were doing. It was that we didn't have enough time to do it, because we don't like to start school really, really early. So we start at like 9 o'clock, and then I was giving us about an hour to an hour and a half to do morning time, and that would leave us at like 10:30 trying to get all of our main courses in. We were having to get language arts and math, which is our two biggest, longest, most time-consuming subjects, in before lunch. And it was just very stressful, and usually we didn't get it all done before lunch. And I'm looking back at that now thinking it would have been so much easier had we just cut morning time in half. And I did eliminate a lot of stuff because I started out with like all of these ideas, and I realized this is just too much. There's no way we're gonna get all this done. And so this year, I started out the same way. I'm like, we're gonna do all of these things. It's gonna be so wonderful. And we just can't get it all in. Like, we would be doing school until like 3 or 4 o'clock every day, and that is not okay for me. Like, we like to be done with school no later than 1 o'clock, and that's with only my oldest still going till that time. I like to get all the littles completely done with school before lunchtime. So I came up with the idea of an evening basket. And honestly, I didn't come up with this idea. Someone else shared this, and I cannot remember who it is, or I would give them credit. I can't remember off the top of my head. But what we are doing is we're essentially taking a lot of the things that I had wanted to do for our morning time, and we're doing it in the evening as like part of our family devotions. And it's been so wonderful. Like, we are loving it. I think the pressure is off now, and it's like, if we get it done, that's great, and if we don't, that's fine too. We don't do it every single night. It's mainly the nights that my husband is working nights where I try to add this in to our family devotions. But the kids have been loving it so much that we've been doing it on all the other nights too, pretty much. So we definitely don't do it on our 2 church nights because we just don't have time. But usually it's usually like 4 nights a week that we've been doing it, and it has worked so good. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing, and I'm going to show some clips of us doing it as I speak too, so you can actually like see what it looks like. But you guys know probably from my homeschool tour that I have a whole closet of, like, I call them brain activities, but it's basically things like magnetic blocks and magnetiles and puzzles. And it just got really dark and dreary outside, and now it's raining, so I hope that y'all can see me in this light. But so we have all of those fun things. We have, like, I have a bunch of little things in there for Emmy to practice her counting and her shapes and her numbers and her colors. There's coloring books in there, there's dot markers, all of those things. So what I do at the beginning of every week, it's usually like Saturday or Sunday, I go through our brain activity closet and I pick like 4 or 5 brain activities and I stick them in our evening basket. And those are the things that the kids can play with while I'm doing our read alouds. And we just do that in our living room. I have this basket that stays upstairs in our dining room, and we just put it in our living room and we do our morning time in there. And so that way the kids have something to occupy their hands while I'm talking. And I have found if you have small children, this is the thing that works the best, because I get asked a lot, how do I do read alouds and all that stuff with small kids? I'm just figuring it out too, but what I have been learning is if you give them something to do with their hands, they will sit there and listen for a really long time. But if you just sit them down and expect them to sit still while you read like a 30-minute to an hour-long book, they are not going to do very well. So, my kids at least. So, that's what I do, is I give them something to do with their hands. I try to find things that are not messy. Like, we don't really do Play-Doh, and I don't usually bring the dot markers up during this time either. We just try to do things that are like as mess-free as possible, since we're going to be in the living room and not in our schoolroom. But to each its own. Y'all do what you want to do. So, what we have been doing for our morning basket is we are reading Nate Saint. We're actually almost done with that. We will probably start another missionary story after that, or I bought the fall bundle from Home and Haven. If you haven't seen it, it's really awesome. It has a whole unit study on one of the Little House on the Prairie books, and so I really want to do that with the kids. So I'm thinking of probably starting that next, and then we might do a missionary story in addition to that and just kind of swap back and forth with those, but I haven't totally decided about that yet. I'll keep y'all posted on that. But that's what we're reading right now. So we spend the majority of our time just reading that. But I have also stuck in there our nature journals, because sometimes I'll let them do a few activities from that. And then I've also put our safety unit from The Good and the Beautiful in there too, because that's one of those other things that I was just having a really hard time squeezing in to our morning time. So I added that in there. That's about it, because y'all, like I said, I'm trying to like simplify things and make it super easy and manageable for me for this season of life. And that is what we can do right now, and it is working so good. So I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not going to add a whole bunch of extra stuff, because this is working so well. And the kids are so excited about it. Like if I forget, they're like bringing the basket to me. They're like, it's time for evening basket. Like, they are so excited about it. Let me tell you what our morning time now looks like. We still do Bible. That is always non-negotiable. We still do the Pledge of Allegiance, World Watch News, and then we usually do either history or science during that time. And I am finding that is just enough. Like, that's as much as we have time for, and it is working out perfect. And it still ends up being like 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes it's a little over, depending on how long the history and or science lesson is. We do history 2 days a week, and then we do science 1 day a week. So we're not doing history and science ever like on the same day. So that's it, y'all. I'm sure it's not like anything revolutionary to anyone, but it just feels that way to me, because it has just been the best blessing. I'm just like, why did we not do this sooner? Because I wanted to get these books in with the kids. We just were not finding time. So then they weren't getting done, and I was feeling like a failure, and like, I'm never gonna get this morning time thing. It's just what I kept thinking. Or I'm like, we're never gonna have a successful morning time until all the kids are like over 4. But this has been working out really well. Like, we just all just hang out on the couch. The baby will just crawl around and play with what he wants to play with. The rest of the kids are all playing with their little little brain activities, and I am like so into the book too. It is a very interesting, exciting story, and even my husband is really loving it because he is into aviation, and this book has a lot of aviation stuff in it. So the whole family is just really enjoying this sweet time, and it's just a really good time for us to gather and to talk and to connect, and it's been a blessing. So I just wanted to share that with you guys in the hopes that it takes a little like stress off of you, of maybe you have this idea in your mind of what morning time should look like, and maybe now you know that it can look a little bit different, and that's okay. So be sure you like this video before you leave, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for your support, and drop down below any resources that you have for your morning time activities. If you have something that y'all like could not do without in your morning time or your evening time, then drop it below and let me know so we can all get some good resource ideas. Thanks guys, see you soon.